Hey Renegades, Jeremy Burgess, founder of Renegade Detroit Investors, the Detroit market expert, and welcome to the very first video on the idea that we described before. And this first video, just another brief explanation. For the next 52 weeks, me and several other folks are going to post a blog a week, and what this is going to do is we're going to tell you exactly how we did what we did in the real estate business over, in my case, the last almost 6 years now. It's going to be a lot of information. I'm really excited about it. And I thought a natural place to start, and in the beginning, there's always a story. And stories are important. Stories get us started and moving in the right direction, and they also give us perspective. I started almost 6 years ago. I enlisted in the United States Navy right out of high school. I decided that wasn't something that I wanted to do forever. I got out, bounced around between jobs for a long time. Eventually, my best friend Jason. Eventually, my best friend Jason came down and talked me into going to college. I was living in San Diego, California at the time. And so I moved up to Pullman, Washington to go to college. Promptly blew out 2 discs in my back. Probably previous injury from the Navy, lots of heavy lifting. I was a mechanic, all that. And had to drop out because I didn't have any insurance. Didn't have any insurance, so I had to go on the state aid to get the surgery I needed after months of physical therapy and everything else under the sun. Basically, I couldn't hardly walk. My left leg was dead to the world. I had to borrow money from my best friend, my family. It was pretty terrible. Positive side, though, was I really learned how to cook because I had a lot of free time and I didn't want to be dead weight. So, I mean, I cooked some amazing meals. It took me a while to get there. But anyway, once I finally got my back fixed, I got off. I bounced around between some more jobs, line cook, all that. Ended up at Safeway, which is a grocery store chain, as a baker. Started as a donut fryer. Thought I had maybe found a career, for lack of a better word. And I moved up pretty quick. In 3 years, they were actually sending me out to stores to fix bakeries, but kind of going in the background the entire time. Throughout what I'm doing, even when I was in high school and I joined the Navy, was there's something wrong with the way I'm doing things. I just knew, like, okay, I worked really hard in the Navy. Pretty much every job I worked really hard, want to move up. Want to do the right thing. Work ethic's good, although if you compare me to my father, I look pretty lazy, but better than most people I know. He really raised me to work just like a dog. And I just knew in the entire time that there was something wrong. And I'm following this bakery path, and I met my wife. It wasn't my wife at the time. We started dating, and luckily for me, once again, my best friend stepped in, Jason. He actually went to Iraq. And apparently when you're not, doing the things a soldier does, putting their life on the line, you have a little spare time. And he did quite a bit of reading. And he read about real estate. And he came back pumped up, just super pumped up. And it was actually the first book I read, as Creating Wealth with Real Estate by Robert Allen. And that got me pumped up. Then I started remembering stories my grandfather had told me about the real estate he had done. And I literally knew immediately that this is exactly what I wanted to do. And I jumped in with 2 feet, folks. I jumped in with 2 feet. I just jumped right in. I tried to keep my job in the beginning because I didn't want to take, insane sort of risks. I tried to go to part-time. Safeway wouldn't let me. And after about 6 months of struggling with this, and during that time I also married my wife, it became apparent to me that if I really wanted to do this, I would have to quit my job because Safeway wasn't going to let me work part-time. So that's what I did. I gave my 2 weeks notice. And I quit my job, and I jumped into this thing full time. This was in early 2006. Early 2006 when I did this. So I just dove in head first. I didn't know what I was doing. Literally, like, zero education. And I'll tell you, you wouldn't think technology has changed that much in 6 years, but it really has. I mean, I do everything completely different from where I started. And at the time, I'm living in Pullman, Washington. I'm doing deals, putting together mobile home deals, doing assignments, doing short sales. My first deal took me 9 months to do. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to market. Literally, like, I am not the brightest guy. Sometimes people look at me and go, wow, how'd you do that? And literally, I'd say 90% of what I do is trial and error, and it's expensive, but I just do not give up on it. And I stumbled across, through a friend, Jason, but not my best friend Jason, another Jason, who was doing deals in Detroit, and I thought this man was insane, like literally insane. I had the same preconceptions about Detroit as everybody else did, and I just took it upon myself to prove him wrong. And the harder I tried to prove him wrong, the more I proved him right, to the point where literally, I think it was 6 weeks later, I bought my first house in Detroit, and I was hooked. I was hooked for it. Was almost like comparing it to falling in love with my wife. Within 3 weeks of meeting my wife, I knew that was the woman I wanted to marry and spend the rest of my life with. Didn't mean I couldn't screw it up, but I knew then that that's what I wanted. And it was the same way with Detroit. Did a bunch of deals before we even came to Detroit. Did so well. Came to Detroit, visited for the first time. Doing really well. You know how crazy that market was in 2006. You could do no wrong. You could literally do no wrong anywhere you're investing. Decided literally 2007, Gina quit her job at university, and we moved out in May 2007 to Detroit, and promptly lost everything we'd ever made, plus a ton of credit and everything, by the end of August 2007. After quite a few deals under her belt, I might add. I can't remember the exact number, but it was an impressive amount and an epic failure of gigantic proportions. I look back on how fast it happened, and it's pretty sick. You want to talk about a downward spiral. Kind of spent a month just kind of going, what the hell just happened? You know, that dazed, deer in the headlights look, going, oh my God, I just lost like $350,000. What the hell do I do now? Luckily, since I didn't have any stinking money, I couldn't sit around and mope too long. And that's really when Urban Detroit Wholesalers was born. And kind of definitely born by fire in the forge. Started putting together some of my first cash deals, really analyzed what I did wrong and what was wrong about the market before, and made it my mission in life not to ever make those mistakes again. I've made plenty of mistakes since then. My goal was not to make the same mistakes that got my wife and I and my investors and put us in that kind of situation where you quit your job, you have no safety nets. Had to make something happen, and I absolutely refused to quit. I felt that if I went and got a job or did something at that particular instance in time, I would never come back to this. That's the danger in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying you should go out and quit your job. Quite the contrary, keep your job. But what I'm saying was, when your back's against the wall, fight your way out. That's what we did. The rest is history. Shortly after early 2008, started Renegade Detroit Investors. Urban Detroit Wholesalers is just blown up. We still really love this Detroit. Pretty much everything I do is in Detroit. That's kind of my story in a nutshell. Some of you guys know a little bit more in depth, but I don't think you can move forward without a beginning. And before we start this journey, this 52-week journey, I want you to know a little bit about me, where I came from, how I did it, what happened, before I start diving into the details. And I'm going to give you a homework assignment. Before you put a single dollar in real estate, I want you to read one book. I could have saved myself 50 grand at least if I had read this one book, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. I want you to ignore the numbers. The numbers don't make sense in today's market, but the principle, the core principle of real estate is in that book. Single best book I've ever read on investing in real estate. Hope you enjoyed this one. More to come. Really appreciate your attention. It's going to be pretty exciting. I have Fridays. So every Friday, I post my episode of The Idea for the next 52 weeks. And I'll be following a schedule on this, and with Todd helping me out too, keep me on track. So Renegades, take care. Appreciate the attention. Once again, Jeremy Burgess, founder of Renegade, Detroit Investors, the Detroit Market Expert. See you guys.